promised you we were going to keep the La Joya train rolling, and that's what we're doing. We had Sergio Castillo on earlier today. We're joined by a couple of former Lady Coyotes, Karissa Garcia and Clarissa Navarro, joining the show today. We're going to talk some softball. So welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, Gotti, let's do it.
Let's do this.
So we're gonna kick things off with just you all's careers and what you all are doing these days. And I know, Karissa, we'll start with you. You're a school teacher in the La Joya School District. How has the pandemic obviously affected the school year, and then how has the school district handled the whole deal?
Our school district's done very well and doing the whole transitioning into this technology world, this tech world, because it's been a smooth transition overall. For me personally, I am not a tech person whatsoever. So I know when I was told, like, hey, you got to get on Google Classroom, when I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And, we had teachers that have been through that process and they know what to do. So it was just a smooth transition for me to just learn along with the kids. So it's been good. It's been good. I know it's been hard not to be able to see the kids face to face, but keeping in touch with them has been basically what we've been doing through the computer.
Are you all in the last week of school, or where are y'all at as far as that goes?
This is our last week. Yes, this is our last week.
Yeah, and I, because my mom's an elementary teacher, she mentioned that this was their last week for the school district here in Edinburgh. They're having to go to the classrooms, clean up their classrooms, some awards. Have you all done the same thing as far as cleaning out your classrooms and maybe going in at 5-10 people at a time, or by grade level?
I know this week we've been going back. Basically, well, I'm in the gym setting. I'm doing PE, so right now it's basically kids going. Either picking up their stuff from their locker room or dropping off stuff. So yeah, it's been like that. So teachers have been going in and out, like I said, with the 10 people at a time. This week we're going in 4 hours. So the teachers are going in, us as well. While we're not getting any kids at the time, we're trying to check out and be able to turn in whatever we have to turn in to administration. But yeah, it's kind of weird, because that we're real close at our school. So being able to see just a couple of teachers at a time is kind of like, it's weird. It's weird.
Definitely. And Clarissa, you're coming from Arkansas,
Yes.
Fayetteville, Arkansas. Now, first off, thank you for your service as a police officer. You guys are on the front lines with this whole pandemic. So thank you to that. And just how has this been for you guys? Because this is something none of us have seen before. So I'm sure as a police department, there were so many different things you had to learn and kind of adjust to.
So I'm in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Things were a little bit different. I know our cases here weren't as high as they are in Texas. So we didn't have that whole lockdown or anything like that. But everything, just our dynamic and the way things are, how we operated changed a little bit, and a lot of it was protecting our community. Rules, regulations, things got changed, and it was a lot of social distancing even in the police department. But at the end of the day, we managed, we pulled through. And here in Arkansas, people kept their distance pretty well. But yeah, we made it.
Did your county, did y'all have curfews like we had here?
No, we did not. Like I said, our cases were low. There wasn't a super high death toll. Everything went smooth. Everything went well. People followed the rules for the most part. And at the end of the day, that's the reason, kind of, why we didn't get the whole lockdown and all that curfew stuff. But our police department did very well. They executed the game plan that we had, and that's all we expect.
I know, because I went to Lubbock a couple weeks ago, and the farther west I went, obviously the population is not as big as the valley, but once we got to Junction, people weren't wearing masks. We stopped at the gas station. The workers were, but the people, us, weren't. I wore one, but I kind of felt out of place. Like, whoa, now I'm the weirdo wearing the mask. Everyone else isn't. But as far as that goes in Arkansas, in your area, were y'all required to wear masks?
It was frowned upon if you didn't have one. There wasn't anything that said that you had to, but for the most part, if you went into any grocery store, anywhere, they kind of advised that you wear one. So they had one waiting for people who didn't have one. But for the most part, as a police department, we always wore ours, whether we were talking to people, whether we had, we were riding with somebody, we always had a mask just to keep that, our community safe. And that was what our goal was. So,
as a police officer, what was the biggest challenge on, I don't want to say, controlling the community as far as, because I know down here people kind of went crazy for a little while, the shortage on TP, people were looking for wipes and all these different things. It was a little chaotic for a little while. How did you all manage to maybe just keep the community calm and, maybe just kind of keep things in order?
Well, it did happen. We did run out of toilet paper. That was a big one. And, which was weird. But at the end of the day, we have a ton of trails here in Fayetteville. We kept that open. We kept everything almost to a minimum. We didn't really shut things down. So the public was able to go out. But kind of, our police department, we're very aware just to make sure, there was only 10 people and make sure we keep, 6 feet apart, so on and so forth. So we were out in the parks. We were out, not very, not so much socializing, but more of, keeping our public aware of why there are certain rules put in place. And the more that they follow it, the more this thing can kind of flow through, and then we can get back to normal. So at the end of the day, it was just verbalizing that often to our community. So
definitely. We're going to switch gears here, and we're going to talk some softball. Talk about y'all's career, both playing at La Joya High School and both of you all playing at the college level. Let's take a step back into y'all's high school years. Maybe what stood out to you all when you all were playing at that time, 10 years ago when we were still in high school.
Claudia, you want to take this?
You got this.
You're either gonna go first or second, Karissa.
A lot, softball's changed within this 10 years going on. Back then, 10 years ago, we were a very good team. We played a lot. A lot of teams that we played against had a lot of experience playing the travel ball teams. High school for us, I think, was pretty easy. We were just a powerhouse back then, and now it's expanded. You see a lot of teams being powerhouses throughout the whole valley, which is good to see. So you kind of get to see also that softball in the softball world here in the valley is also getting some big competition, and they're just expanding on
that. Clarisa?
So I haven't been back in the valley as often as I want, to be. But every time I go back, you can tell that softball's growing, and the talent there is just getting so much better. And it's really awesome to see, people playing travel ball, or, people playing, and moving and expanding and playing in Houston and playing out of state, and showing off talent that the valley has. But at the end of the day, high school was awesome. It was amazing. Those were my the fun years I had together with a great group of talented, athletes. I mean, we were awesome. It was great. It was fun. And at the end of the day, that's what softball's all about, is having fun and keeping the fun, because at times I know we forget that, and it's just drilling, and sometimes it gets like annoying and overwhelming, but it's always reverting back to finding what made it fun. And that's what kind of keeps everything going. But like I said, high school was amazing. It was awesome. And it was fun. And the talent, like I said, it was it was uncomparable to kind of what we did and the mark that we made. So it was awesome.
And I understand. I know, Karissa, did you also play for Kaos? You're a Kaos product.
I played for Kaos as well. Yeah.
And what's that? Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I played with Kaos. I played with Kaos starting my sophomore year all the way through coming back from my freshman year in college. We were still able to play that summer, so I continued on with Kaos as well.
Okay, so then you must have been at the same game, because my cousin is Sandy Guerrero. I don't know if you remember her. She was a pitcher.
Right,
yeah. We went to go watch her play with Kaos, and that was when I first saw Clarisa play. And I was like, holy smokes, who's this shortstop? And they were like, oh, that's Karissa Navarro, like the Karissa Navarro. And I was like, whoa, wow. So ever since then, I was like, holy smokes, like that she can play, you know? So, but, talking about travel ball and Kaos, how do y'all feel how much of an impact travel ball has on these kids, and how we've seen it grow from then till now, and just the impact that it has?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of, I know last week you were talking to Coach Kevin, Coach Leal, Coach Lugo, and they were talking about that. And I know Coach Leal had said something to the effect of, you want to get seen, you've got to play travel ball. And I completely agree, and kind of going back 10 years ago, if you think about it, we go back 10 years ago, there's only 3 travel ball teams here in the Valley that were very well known, which was Kaos, Thunder, and Heat. And now that 10 years later, I mean, you have a lot of travel ball teams down here, which is great, because that gives that opportunity for more girls to be able to be a part of that team and travel and go get exposed. And that's the main part. You want to be able to continue playing besides your high school season. And that's kind of just it helps you, you get exposed to being recruited and all that good stuff. I think it's great, just seeing the expansion on that. It's awesome.
Karissa?
So travel ball is always going to put you at that level and that caliber, because you get to be exposed, but then you also see the type of talent that's out there. I mean, there are great players, and you see them and you learn from them, and then you kind of pick up like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. So it's also getting exposed, but also knowing what, talent or what an athlete looks like as well, from, all the way from New Jersey to, California. People come from all over the place and play, and you kind of realize, and you're kind of brought down to earth, like, all right, maybe I'm not that good. So a lot of it,
you got to work on it.
That's right. I mean, that's really all it's about. And coaches talk. I mean, Garcia knows, and she knows, we all know that people talk, and you just got to remember that everything that you do gets noticed, and people do a lot of talking. They're going to talk and talk. So it's not also what you do on the field, but it's also what you do off the field, and people are going to, if you're an eye to the coaches and to the public, well, trust me, they're not just going to know what you're doing on the field. So just kind of be aware, because it's huge. It's not just the athlete, but they're also going to recruit the person, So I think people forget about that, and I think it's good to kind of realize that it just matters. The person matters too. So there you go.
Because I know, and like you mentioned, Karissa, there were only 3 travel ball teams in softball when we were around. Because I know for me growing up, we all, obviously the 2 of us or the 3 of us all grew up in the same era. There wasn't as much travel baseball.
No.
It was Little League, All Stars, and then that was it. And then I remember when they started doing travel ball, I remember the big issue was that, at least here in Edinburgh, they would allow the select teams to come into the little leagues, and then they would just cream everybody in the little leagues kind of as a warm up to get ready for their nationals and regionals and whatever they would go to. But see, for me, I never had that privilege to, my parents couldn't afford to do all that traveling and be on those teams. So seeing what these kids have the opportunity now is, I feel that they're 10 steps ahead of we were when we were kids, because we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Huddle, to where you can tweet something out and instantly that highlight's going to be seen by whoever it may be. Do you feel the same way, that these days it's just the opportunity is so much bigger for these kids to be seen?
It really is. I know going back to when we were trying to get exposed and whatnot, actually Kaos was one of the first teams here in the Valley to be able to go to what's popular now. I'm not too sure if people still go to that tournament, if it exists, but like the Ronald McDonald tournament was a huge showcase during the October season. When I was a sophomore, we had, I think Kaos was in like a year wait list to get into that tournament, to be exposed, to be able to go out there. And we were the only ones able to go out there. And then for years to come after that, you know, the rest of the teams down here were able to do that. And yeah, back then we didn't have social media to be able to go and show us, send out videos for coaches to be able to see us and whatnot. So it was a little tougher. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Gladys, but I want to say it was either our junior year, senior year. I know there was a Plano tournament, showcase tournament. It's only by invitation only. I know Kaos tried to get into it, and again, it was a year wait list to get on. And one of our friendly foes was Corpus team, Corpus Panthers. And I know our coach had gotten in contact with them, like, hey, we got some girls that want to be able to go out there. Do you think you can take them? We got 3 girls, which was myself, Gladys, and Clarisa's younger sister, Ali.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that coach was just like, you know what, middle of the week, he was like, we'll bring them out here to practice and we'll see what we can do. And so there we go, middle of the week, heading out to Corpus just to go practice. And during that practice, you know, he was still kind of iffy, you know, if he wanted to take us or not. And he said, you know what, well, we got this tournament coming up this weekend here in Corpus. Can y'all come? Okay, fine. So there we go. We went. I think Gladys stayed back. I don't know for what reason, but she stayed back. So Gladys and Ali, I mean, obviously everybody knew Gladys was going to end up playing, right? So we ended up going to that tournament, and that coach told us right off the bat, right before the game, he's like, hey, I'm only giving you an inning. So take advantage of it. It's like, whoa, pressure's on.
Yeah.
And sure enough, by the end of the game, you know, he said, you know what, I'm taking y'all, you know, and it's like, man, to go through those steps, to be able to just go to a showcase, that was tough. That was tough, especially for our parents to be able to take us middle of the week, you know, during a school week, to take us to Corpus just to go practice, just for them to tell us to go back and play for that weekend. So right now, the exposure's out here. You have all the resources to be able to be a part of teams, to be able to go get exposed and whatnot. So I think it's great that kids get to be able to take advantage of that, because it was kind of hard at that point, at that time. It was pretty hard. But it's great. It's great to see that the kids are finally getting exposed, you know, and it all started even probably before us, you know. Gladys' sister, she ended up going to West Point. You know, little kids, our exposure has gone bigger from the Valley, because I remember going out to town, you know, where are you from? Oh, I'm from the Valley. Where's that? And it's like, well, kind of have to describe where we're from and whatnot. It's like, oh my goodness, you know, but now, you know, people are finally realizing, oh, you're from the Valley. Wow, that's great. You know, and that kind of goes back to saying, like, the exposure that the kids are going out there and finally putting the Valley on the map.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's a really big deal. But when it comes to Twitter and Facebook and all these, you know, apps that are going about, you also have to be careful, because with coaches and everything, that's exactly how they figure out what type of person you are. And a lot of people forget that. They forget, like, what they post or what they said or what they're doing, or, you know, so on and so forth. Being a coach at Wichita State, that's exactly what we did. If people say, hey, they came to our camps, we kind of looked at them. Okay, well, let's go through their Twitter. Let's go and check out what their Facebook looks like. And now it's all these other type of dealios, but that's different. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you know, they were all over it. The exposure that we've had is incredible. In the last 10 years, it has grown, but it was tough. Our parents sacrificed so much. I mean, we lived so far away from Houston and Dallas, San Antonio, Plano to go play. It was tough on our parents and money. And I give a huge shout out to Mr. Luna, who, you know, brought up Kaos and helped. He was a huge help in my success. I mean, he went above and beyond. It was about the players at the end of the day. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about what he was going to get in. It was about his players and how are we going to afford to house them if their parents can't come, you know? And he did everything. It was amazing. And it just, nowadays it's hard to find a coach like that, because coaches have to get paid too for what they do, you know? And at the end of the day, like he does have a very, very special place in my heart, because like I said, personally, I wouldn't have been here if he didn't do what he did. And I mean, he didn't have any girls playing that were his. I mean, it was just like mind blowing when you look back, and he's just a great guy. And I greatly, you know, I really appreciate that. So.
You know, and then of course, you know, both of y'all playing at the college level. What was the recruiting process like for each of you? You know, because you know it can be a stressful time, is what I picked up on some of these kids. They get stressed with different schools, different options. You stay close to home. Do you leave the state? Do you go to San Antonio? But for you all, what was that like?
So for me, the process, again, it started off with going to that showcase up in Houston at that point, and then going to Plano. Kind of got exposed to a couple coaches that I started talking to since the end of my sophomore year, going to my junior year, keeping in contact. And basically, like Gladys said, Coach Luna was always on us about, hey, you want to get seen, like start sending emails to these coaches, go to their website. At that point, again, because there was no social media that was very popular. So there we were, you know, going to the school's websites and starting to send emails out to these coaches and kind of just sending out our stats and whatnot, and kind of telling them like, hey, we're going to these college showcase tournaments. If you're going to be there, where this is who we are, this is where we're going to be, this is our schedule. Mm-hmm. And basically for me, the process was what was better in my interest. You know, there was one school out of Alabama where it's like, man, it's kind of far. Kind of didn't want to go into the military route, kind of was interested, kind of didn't. And, you know, that kind of helped me in choosing what other schools I could go for. What really got me to deciding to go to HT was the same year I was going, a good chunk of Valley girls were showing up too. You know, you got Debbie Martinez, Roxanne Rodriguez from PSG North at the time, Roxanne Rodriguez from Edinburgh Economides, who's now the head coach there. All three of them are transferring from Tabor, going to HT. HT at that point was in their first year of that program, the softball program, just coming up. You know, so me kind of knowing that, hey, some girls are from the Valley are going, and these girls were great, you know, kind of said, you know what, let's go get this program up and kind of do something with it. Also, Amanda Pacina, she was also part of PSG North at during that time we were in high school. She also transferred from Kingsville. So again, that big chunk of Valley girls going in, that kind of made me make my decision like, hey, I kind of know these girls. I can help in the process also to kind of bring up this program, which ultimately that's what made me choose going HT compared to going to different schools and whatnot.
And Clarissa, you had quite the journey from going to a JUCO and then to Arkansas. So what was that like? You know, from going to the starting at the JUCO level and then making your way to Arkansas.
So my decision was a little bit more, well, just it was different. It was a little bit more challenging. So I had all these, you know, different schools that I wasn't very aware about. I remember speaking to Auburn, to Florida, Alabama, but they just didn't have the funds of that year. When I spoke to Arkansas, you know, it was almost the same. I remember just speaking to a couple, you know, of JUCO colleges. It was very overwhelming. I remember, and, you know, talking to my dad about kind of where do you think I should go? And you know, the reason why I picked Arkansas compared to Alabama, Florida, Auburn, and, you know, West Point, which I was, you know, I'm not into the whole military thing. That's, you know, I decided after speaking to Mike Larrabee that I would play for him. And we cut out a deal that I would go to the JUCO, Butler Community College, for a year. I would transfer and get a full ride, because then he had one of his girls already kind of go through and graduate, and that's, you know, where that other chunk of money was. So I wasn't afraid to go to JUCO. I think it was better for me, because the Valley's different as a whole. You know, it's almost like a place of its own, and they do things, you know, a little bit different. I mean, a lot of people get so culture shock when they leave and they go to, you know, a different state. I mean, things are run just a little bit different, and that's kind of how it is. It is what it is. But you pick up things, you learn different things, and you realize, like, you know, you're a lot more open-minded. But I decided, like, it was one of those deals where, and it's hard to kind of, for me to, you know, going back to that, I decided to go to, after making that deal, because I wanted to, one, I had a really good contract with, you know, the JUCO and college, but I also wanted to not be in a tradition. I wanted to make tradition. You know, that was a big thing that stuck in my head, was I wanted to make tradition. It was going to be at Arkansas.
Definitely. And, yeah, I know. And you talking about making a tradition was
Right.
Also, you know, in my opinion, and a lot of others, was that you were the first major domino to fall as far as setting the tone for Valley athletes, softball in particular, that it is possible and doable for kids to play at the Division I level.
Correct.
You know,
It is.
you know, and you know, what when that marinates with you, that, you know, that you know, like you both said, that both of you went through so much hurdles and so many different obstacles just to get seen, to have an opportunity to go play at a showcase, while kids nowadays, they can just be on their travel team and boom, they show up at a showcase. They can, you know, it's so much easier. So for you guys, we're basically the pioneers of allowing, you know, you went through those hurdles so those kids can now go through it without having to go through those hurdles. So now looking back at it, is that what you guys see it as, and Clarissa, with you, like, playing at Arkansas, because since then we haven't seen anybody play at the SEC level, or the Big 12 for that matter.
So I never saw myself as a pioneer. I was solely focused on being better than I was yesterday. I mean, I was so focused on getting things done, and like driving, and just trying to get, you know, not physically fit, but mentally. It just, man, the game can make you or break you, and at times it's going to break you, but you have to, find that like mental toughness to drive out of there and be like, hey, it's going to happen, and you just got to keep going. And that's what's going to break a lot of our athletes, is because they don't have that mental edge, that mental toughness of, dude, I mean, you're batting at 350. Cool. That's amazing. That's great. But if you look at it, like, how many times did you fail?
Yeah.
More times than you succeeded. I was like, so you got to realize and put that in perspective. Like, you can't go 100 for 100. It is what it is, you know? And I remember, I mean, there were like, oh, man, times where I would just beat down on myself. And, you know, you had these great people, you know, great coaches that will just put that in perspective, and boom, boom, you just gotta push through it. And we, you know, if you don't have that, you're gonna fall short. You're gonna just lose it, and you're just gonna think you're not good enough. But whew, it was a journey. It's tough, and no one said it was gonna be easy, but it's one of those where you gotta have that mental edge and toughness to kind of drive and be the best that you can be, because you're running this race and it's just you. And when you focus on other people that are around you because they're so much better than you, you're going to lose that focus. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, you know, Gladys talking about like the softball aspect of it, but she's also right. You know, that also goes into the classroom. You know, that's a different ball game when you go to college. In high school, you know, you still have teachers behind you like, hey, you're missing this assignment, you know, you're missing this. You know, when you're going to college, it's a different, I mean, you got to step it up a notch. And that mental aspect of, hey, you know, I got to be on top of my stuff here. I got to be on top of my grades and whatnot. It's like, I can't just leave this here and I'll come back to it later. And like, you got to be on it then, because at the end of the day, you're a student first before you're an athlete. You know, before you can step onto that field, you still got to pass. And, you know, for softball in particular, it's not until the spring. So you really got to come in that fall, and you've got to put in your hours, and you've got to be able to be passing so you're able to play. You know, that's a big thing that students need to understand. When you're going to school, you know, you're going to play, yes, but you're also getting your education. And that's the main thing that they kind of need to understand. You know, this is the main thing why you're going. You're going to play because that's great. That's a great opportunity for you, but you're there to be a student. So sometimes kind of lose focus of that. And you know, it's again, it goes back to being mentally tough. A lot has to do with if some of the kids, they go out of the valley, you know, they get that little freedom from their parents and from being at home, so they kind of feel like, oh, it's okay, you know, I don't have to go to class today, or you know, I can just skip it and go tomorrow, you know. But once you do that, you make it easier every time to kind of, you know, if I miss this day, you know, oh, a couple days later, oh, you know what, I don't have to go today either. You've got to be on check on that, you know, and a lot of college coaches that I know they are on top of that, which is great. But, you know, sometimes you're not going to have somebody behind you that's going to be pushing you. And that's where you yourself have to build that toughness. And you got to be able to make those decisions where you've got to kind of grow up a little bit, you know, and I think that's great.
Actually, Coach Stephanie Lugo, she actually just commented right now. She's watching the show. She said it was such an honor to play against these two women. I remember when I would play against Clarisa and seeing the speed and power of her throw from shortstop. My teammates and I thought we were doomed, that there was no way we could get to first. She was one of the reasons and role models that encouraged me to play college softball. Thank you, Clarisa. That's from Coach Stephanie Lugo.
And I appreciate it all. I really do. It was my experience and everything that, you know, every player that I played with, every, you know, person I remember playing against, and they were just awesome. Like, that is a reason why it was so awesome. I mean, you just had these like players that were just like driving, and, you know, they were just like going at it, but they were so good. And I was just like, yes, You can't forget. You cannot forget any, the people you played with and the people you played against back in the Valley. I mean, they're just stitched into your mind of like, they were just great athletes, and they were good at what they did, and they worked so hard. Because I remember, playing on a team and going to practice and doing all that with all these girls, and they showed a lot of heart. They really did. So it was good. It was fun.
And then you get to Arkansas, and I did a little bit of research. You're second all time in average, 336, second all time in slugging, 518, on base percentage, second all time with 402, fourth in RBIs with 112. The hurdles that you had to do to get there to Arkansas to play at the JUCO level, show D1 school that you can do it. You get there and you do it. Just when you graduated from Arkansas and your career was wrapped up, looking back at it, how did you feel knowing that, hey, your journey was a unique one, like you said, and you were able to do all these things and with these numbers that you were able to put up at arguably, to me, I like A&M, and I LSU Florida, but when it comes to softball, I'm biased. I think the SEC is the toughest conference in softball, maybe next to the Pac-12, but with Washington and Oregon. But to me, the SEC is tough. It's always been tough.
Always. It was tough. Not to just let it go, but for it to be over. Mm-hmm. Just because of all the sweat and the tears and just it's a love and hate relationship, and the obstacles and everything, man. I just felt like I did it, but I didn't realize how big it was. I didn't grasp what I did made an impact on so many people. I didn't realize that. No one really came out and abruptly said it. No one really. And so I just kept doing me, and I did it the best that I could. But at the end of the day, when, you talk to people, or you go home after a few years, or you kind of finally get back in the river going home, you realize, how big of an impact it was. And it just it's tough because it makes me emotional. It really does. But it was really hard to just hang the cleats and be like, this is it. And I was blessed, and I'm thankful, and I 100%, believe that anybody in the Valley, if you really want it that bad, it's there. But you have to work for it. You have to work hard. You have to grind, and you're going to have that mental toughness, because anybody at any time can take that spot, because it's not given. I mean, you have to work for it. It's there, but are you willing to make all those sacrifices to get it? So.
Kind of going off of that, of what Gladys saying, this last sentence word she said, sacrifice. I think that's a big thing. With us, we sacrificed a lot. In high school, I didn't go to no homecoming. I didn't go to a homecoming dance or anything like that, because during homecoming was that showcase tournament that we're going to. So everybody's asking, hey, you want to go to homecoming? He's like, no, I got softball to think about. It's sacrifices that you have to put. Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day. We're not getting ready for Christmas. In the morning we're out there working. We're working out. And it's not like an hour workout where we're just gonna go and throw the ball. It's like, no, we're starting at 8:30. We're not getting home to 2 o'clock. We're going through a whole defensive workout, offensive workout, and it's not an hour of hitting. We're getting 1,000 cuts a day. And after that, then go hit the weight room, then go run and go do all these things. It's a sacrifice. If this is what you really want, if you want to be able to go out there to that next level, it's a lot of sacrifices that you go through, and sometimes, some people need to understand that part, because I know I've met some people, or I know people that say, well, what, today's my birthday, and I get that, it's so-and-so's birthday, I got to go this, or I got to go do that. I get it, but sometimes, these things, you got to kind of make that sacrifice and do whatever you need to do, and then go ahead and go do these extra things, because you need to go, if you want this bad, you'll do it. You'll do it. You know, and that's what some people need to understand. It's a lot of work, and it doesn't happen overnight either. It takes time.
And Claudia, you wrapped up your playing career and then you went on to coach. What inspired that deal there?
So I didn't want to oh, my bad.
Oh, Gotti, who are you talking to?
Clarisa, sorry.
Oh,
Yes, no, oh yeah, right. Yeah, but you became a college coach. I'm sorry, Clarisa. Yeah, you became a college coach.
yes.
What inspired that? Was that something you wanted to do?
I didn't want to let go of the game just yet. I wanted to just see what the coaching side of it was like, especially, you know, at a Division I school, which I was thankful for Coach Redrenner to give me that opportunity and go ahead and to become a coach. But once I got there, it was just a whole different ballgame. You see behind the scenes and what it takes, you know, to conduct, you know, a really nice flow of practice and who's going to start, who's not, and the reasoning behind certain, you know, opinions of different coaches. But it's also, I mean, you know, sometimes we forget, but they also improvised, you know, mental toughness and the reasons why. And I really enjoyed kind of that part of, you know, handing out books and, you know, just to keep your mind sharp, which was awesome. I also had the pleasure to coach with Nicole, and I'm blanking on her name, which is bad. She's probably gonna hate me for that. But she played on the USA women's softball team. And so she just got married. That's why I don't really know her last. So, but I mean, it was great. We had all these, you know, kind of experiences and just all put together, and I loved it. I only did it for 1 year, but it was a whole different ball game, basically. So it was cool. It was fun.
And Carissa, you two are also coaching as well there in La Jolla. Was it the same for you? Was it something you always wanted to do and always, you know, have a chance to give back?
You know, it is. I've been around sports all my life. You know, growing up, my own dad he's still a coach. He's a coach. I have a lot of family members in the teaching profession and the coaching profession. So I've been around sports majority of my life. And growing up, my mom's was a teacher. And, you know, Saturdays came around and I was the only child at that point. And it's like, hey, you want to go with me to tutoring school or something? Or do you want to go with your dad, you know, to the football field or the baseball field? I'm like, no, I got to go. I'm not going to school. I don't feel like reading. So I kind of grew up around that. And in high school, once I made my decision that I wanted to go into the teaching profession, I was still indecisive of going into criminal justice or the teaching profession, but I just couldn't see myself in an office. You know, I basically saw myself on the field. So, you know, I kind of made it a personal goal of mine that when I got the offer to go and play college ball, my mind, because of what we had gone through in high school, I kind of wanted to, you know, set that example and go out there and go play and, you know, come back to where I grew up in and kind of let people know like, hey, I did this, you know, and kids in our area that want to do the same thing, you know, kind of be a testimony to say like, hey, you know, if I did it, I mean, you can do it too.
You know, looking back, you know, at y'all's career, and you know, we've seen softball, like we mentioned, you know, how you guys were good, you know, 2010, you know, and then we started to see softball kind of go on the upswing. We saw, you know, San Benito 2013, 2015 make state. That was, you know, them breaking that door down as far as making it to state. Weslaco 2016, Rio Hondo region final 2017. We're starting to see teams make the Sweet 16 more often than not. Vela's been up there. Where do you guys feel that the Valley's at as far as a competitive point, you know, from when you guys played to where it is now? Is it the pitching? Is it the hitting? Is it the athletes? Or what do you guys feel that you've seen that difference?
I honestly think that it, like I said earlier, the growth in the travel ball teams, being these girls playing year-round ball, that's helped a lot. Like I said, it doesn't, one season start, it's not starting softball. It's basically they've been on a routine. Majority of these girls play travel ball. And I think because of the growth in the travel ball teams around here in the Valley, it's getting more girls exposed and more girls the opportunity to play. And like you said, you do see that spike in softball all around. Not just and at one school or with one program, but programs all around the Valley. So I just think that because of travel ball, that this is what it is now, and it's grown.
And like she said, things have grown a lot, especially when you have athletes who went to go play and then came back and brought all that they've learned back to the Valley. So now you have all these tools, all these different mindset. When they have come back and they give it to these girls, now they develop like, oh, that's better. Oh, that's quicker. Oh, and so you have all these tools that all these girls have brought back from either coaching and playing that is just making these girls so much better. I mean, because every team, especially in the SEC, and all their hitting styles are a little bit different, just a little bit different. Our hitting style was so much different than OU's, and that's just, it's what works for you. And when you bring all that information, and you realize these things, you're like, you know what, that works better for me. Oh, you know what, that one does too. And it's not just one thing. Now you have a whole variety to choose from what works for that girl. Because everybody's a little bit different. People's eyesight's are a little bit different. They react differently and so on and so forth. It gets a little bit technical, but that's what made us so good is now, these girls, just like Gotti coming back and giving to her community and to these girls just makes them so much better. And the caliber is just getting higher and higher and higher, that the talent it's getting there, and it is awesome. I'm sure it's already there. But like I said, it's that they get out and get exposed, and then they come back and give back. So.
And this year, I think, in my opinion, was a unique year when it comes to Valley softball, because, every year, at least for the past 5 years, we've had that one team where we're like, okay, that's the one team nobody wants to play, whether it was San Benito or Westlaco, whoever. This year was a little different. We had 3 or 4, maybe even 5 teams that were like, okay, that team's going to be very good. That team's very good. So we felt that this year may have been a little bit special as far as a Valley as a whole. Lyford at 3A, I mean, they had a legit shot to make the region final this year, maybe even state. Harlingen South, Mercedes. So we're seeing the level of play start to, like you guys said, everything's starting to come together as a whole. But, unfortunately, this pandemic hit and it cut right through the middle, right through the heart of softball season. And it's just unfortunate to see the seniors, especially the seniors, that their season got cut short. But were you guys maybe keeping tabs on Valley softball this year at all? Or I don't know, I'll put you on the spot, but I mean, if you have, what?
I keep up with Mercedes softball because I think Christy does a good job wherever she's been. I know she's been at San Benito, and I know she's been at Mercedes. And I remember her playing with her against her at Westlaco. So kind of following her and see what she's doing. I know she's had great programs, and kind of keeping up with that. And like you said, not just one team. There's different teams. Like last year, also PSG North. Coming with a brand new coach coming in, they had a great program, and, like you said, these teams are just popping up here and there, like, man, this is a great program. This is a great program. That's great. That's even better competition for the Valley all around, because you want to go see close games. You don't want to go see blowouts, and that's what you want to see, and that's the kind of that's what you want to put the girls in, the girls that are playing right now, that's that pressure. You want to have them go through that because they go on and go play college ball at the next level. There's no blowout games. You're going to have close games and you're going to come from behind, or that other team's coming from behind, and you gotta be able to handle that pressure. And I think those are better games than blowout games in itself. So it's good to see that teams, I mean, there's teams all around here in the Valley that are just popping up and having great seasons. It's good because, going back 10 years ago, with us, not trying to put anybody on the spot, but when we played, we were blowing everybody out 10-0, 15-0. And it's like, man, it got boring after a while. And, we wouldn't see any kind of competition till we got to the playoffs. And, that kind of got boring, and that's when we kind of had to like really settle ourselves down, and kind of get into that mental aspect. Okay, we really got to put it together, guys, not that we didn't do it during the season, but it's good that the girls now are being able to be put under that pressure during season. So when they go off to playoffs, it comes natural for them.
Clarisa, you also played for the Team USA, the women's baseball team.
Yes.
Talk about that experience and what that process was like.
So I'm, as far back as I can remember, I loved baseball. That was all in my heart. And my dad, I remember he went onto the website and kind of just started Googling and, and kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, there are women that play baseball. And I was like, what? And talked a little bit. The closest tryout was in Arizona. We drove all the way to Arizona just so that I could try out. And though that was crazy, but I remember that day and it went great. It was awesome. Anyway, I did get picked up. I got hurt back in it was before I was going to leave in 2008. So I got hurt about 2007, 2008. I can't remember, Gotti. I know that I was out for months and I was unable to actually go and play for the USA team in 2008. So I had to wait a few years and go into, in 2010 when I had graduated. But yeah, my dad did some work, just did some digging. They said, hey, this is the closest one to try out at. And yeah, we made that sacrifice to drive to Arizona and try out, which was, the experience was amazing. Got to, see the talent, the people, the athletes, and just talk. But you also had coaches that were, had played in the, MLB or the AAA, and kind of coach us and give us that insight. And the knowledge that I gained just by trying out and how, it was great. 2010, I did go, I went to Venezuela in 2012, went to Canada, and in 2014, which was my last year to play, we went to Japan to play. Those were the experience that I cherish, that has just been so mind-blowing. I just still can't believe it to this day that that's what I did. I just can't grasp. But to be playing against other countries, I think there were 18 of them. But my favorite place was in 2010 when I went to Venezuela. It was awesome. It was amazing. I mean, it was a little bit scary, but at the end of the day, that experience was probably one of the best ones I've had out of all three of them. But yes.
Seeing that, our parents have made all these sacrifices, I think, we wanted to go out there to college and kind of not let them down because of all these things that they had us go through, or they went through themselves, athletes, I hope they understand that, their parents are sacrificing for them to go out there and play, and take advantage of it, man, because I mean, I know like now you see a lot of kids signing in every sport, and you're getting that exposure out there. And, I've been fortunate to have gone to see some athletes go and sign, and I like to talk to them. I kind of tell them like, hey, don't come back. And not in a bad way, but don't come back in August, or don't say that you're not going to go because you don't want to go, or don't come back in December after that first semester and say, well, you know what, I wasn't starting, or I wasn't passing my classes, so they came back. Don't don't do that, because look at the sacrifice not only that you've done, but your parents. I'm pretty sure, like right now, if you go to those travel ball teams, I mean, there's so much sacrifice that the parents that are out there doing, because us as athletes, we're doing something. We're out there working out and whatnot. Our parents are sitting down just watching, and for them to put in all this money and time on you, be grateful for what they've done, and kind of go out there and be like, you know what, I have to go out there and not only just prove it to myself, but owe it to my parents because of what they've done for me. Even your coaches too, that have put in time to talk to college coaches, or to get you exposed to these schools. Wherever you go, it's kind of, you got to be at your best. You got to be at your best. And like I said earlier, you're a student first. So when you go out of college, you get that first breath of freedom, and you got to make good choices. You go through peer pressure at times, and you have choices to make, and sometimes they have consequences. But I'm pretty sure that the kids, what their parents have taught them, what the coaches have taught them, I'm pretty sure they can make those right choices. But one of the things I tell the kids, just because you're not starting your first year, it's okay. You got to keep working. You can't just hang it up because you're not playing, you're not starting. You got to keep working at it. I know I've told some people, if you want to come back, you feel like you need to come back, after you call your parents telling them that you're going to come back, you better call me, because I'm going to change your mind about that. Because man, just a sacrifice. Just thinking about what we had to go through, and just for somebody to say, you know what, I'm just going to go home. Again, I understand if it's a financial situation or whatever, but you're coming home because you're not starting, or you're coming home because of the choices you made because of school wise. I hope kids that are now signing right now and off in college, take that advantage and think about what they're doing, because, there's other kids out here that also want that opportunity. And that happens. You come back home. Well, that coach that school that you went to, they kind of want to scratch your name, your school off your list. And that next person that's in line to go out there to go play, you're kind of shooting them in the foot. You make it that much harder for somebody else to try to go out there because of your choices that you're making. Those are things that I like to tell kids, because you're not only going out there because of you, but you have other people behind you that are trying to do the same thing as you are. So kind of have to think about that as well. Whatever choices you decide to make and whatnot, you have people behind you that are next in line that want to go to where you go. And hopefully you make a good impression on your coach, where they want to go back to those schools and say, you know what, I want another Karissa Navarro, or I want, and continue that. That's it.
Definitely. Before we wrap up, any shout outs you guys want to give to any family, former teammates, coaches, any friends?
Those are a lot. Let me write them all down.
Or anybody?
Just shout out to everybody in the Valley that, that are going out there and getting exposed in whatever sport you're doing. It's a good thing. Keep doing what you're doing. To every athlete, you want to go out there and you want to get that exposure in the college world. work hard. You got to keep working hard, no matter what obstacles come to you, you got to keep pushing, you can't just give up.
Yep, and that's it. It's all about, not giving up and not giving in, because it's real. And once you, like she said, get, that first air of freedom, now it's on you, and you make those decisions. And every decision does have a consequence, whether it's good, it is what it is. But, I leave you with, you're going to mess up. It happens. You just have to plow right through it. And, you do what you got to do, and you be the best version that you can be, as an athlete, as a student, and as a human being. But I will be back in the Valley, hopefully. Hopefully I stay in Texas this time. And when I do go, I stay. So, yes, I'm proud of the Valley, and I can't express that I am not ashamed of where I came from and where I've been and all the stuff that we have endured. But it's been great. It's been awesome. The journey is still going. So we fight the good fight.
Definitely. So Karissa, Garcia, and Clarissa Navarro, thank you guys for cutting time out of your days to join us here on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It was fun. We appreciate it a lot. So.
Definitely. So that wraps up our shows for today. We'll be back on Wednesday at 1:00. We're still sorting out our schedule. So as soon as we know we have our schedule, we'll put it out on our social media sites. So again, Karissa and Clarissa, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank